Good morning. I hope you're well and I hope you are feeling positive today. In England, it's raining and I am going out later to dig up potatoes. We've all become land girls now. But my morning started with Frankie forwarding me an email from our contact form on our website. And the slight creaking, by the way, isn't my bones from digging up potatoes yesterday. It's the office chair. It's making a very odd noise today. Anyway, I had a lovely email sent from a lady called Rachel from New Jersey. And I hope you recognise this, Rachel. I hope you're listening. But you've written, some 14 years ago, my husband and I were in Shrewsbury seeing relatives. That's right in the middle of England. If anybody knows where Shrewsbury is, it's a lovely town. We happened upon a shop selling embroidery kits and such. He bought the Melliston fire screen kit for me. When I saw it, I said, I won't live long enough to finish that. Well, today I put the last stitch in. It's not perfect, but I had never undertaken anything like it. Over the years, I took it out now and then, and later when we went out in our motorhome, it was a relaxing stitch. The instructions were so detailed I couldn't go wrong. I'm going to hang it, admire it for a while, and then block it as suggested on the yellow sheet. It terrifies me to do that. I have to say, Rachel, you just go for it, girl. Everybody else does. It's a bit of a leap into the deep end, but you'll be fine. You'll be fine, honestly. Anyway, it says, I trust, like the stitching instructions, it is the thing to do. Oh, thank you. That was very flattering. Anyway, she said, then I'll have it professionally framed. Do you recommend glass to cover it? Well, that is the subject of my Q&A. She ends her lovely email saying, my husband didn't live to see it finished, which saddens me. I remain in your debt for the stitching lessons. Well, you might tell from my croaky voice, this is really very moving. And I have to say that kit has been an amazing source of pleasure for so many people who really didn't think they could do something ambitious. But it is a repetitive kit. And looking at it now, you do the parrots last. But when people look at that kit, they think they're going to do the parrots first. But by the time you do the parrots, boy, you can crewel work to, you can hold your head up high and know that you're in the band of sisters and brothers and everybody who has made that design and made it their own and added little details. And I'm continuously thrilled that we have that in our best-selling range. For the last 20 years, it's been amazing. Anyway, right. Okay, she said, the question is, do you recommend glass to cover it? Absolutely, I don't. Because my friend Jackie Hyman and other conservators, they're very sceptical about some of the framers. If you have it framed in glass, you are providing a little incubator for bugs. So if they get in behind, which you don't really see until the damage is done, woodworm or tiny little mites, I don't know what you call them in the countries you're from, but they're tiny little mites that my mother used to call harvest mites, and they got in behind her watercolours and it really saddened her in her older age. Anyway, I see this a lot in samplers and all sorts of things. You see that bug infestation is a problem. And if you have a specialist framer, go for it, put glass on, but obviously have the mount double mounted and spaced so that the glass doesn't impact the embroidery. And try and use non-reflective glass so that when you look at it, you're not just looking at a reflection of the rest of the room or yourself, but you're looking at your beautiful work and Rachel's wonderful Melliston parrots that I know she's finished. I'm very glad about that. Very satisfying when you get to the stage of blocking, actually. But I would always do the blocking at home. I wouldn't, unless it's a specialist needlework shop who do the finishing for you. And I know Em's Canvas, I'm always talking about Mary, this amazing shop, but she is still there functioning and has a big sort of emporium, we would call it here, that used to be a cycle shop, and she opened it just pretty well, a year before COVID started, but her staff are there working safely and she has a great finishing service for many people. Anyway, right. So, do I recommend glass to cover it? Not really, unless you've got a specialist. I don't put glass over mine because I can't find a specialist framer here in the north of England, and I leave them open so that I don't make a little nesting place that is warm and cosy and invisible for the bugs. And I just look at it from time to time and just hoover using the nozzle end of your hoover with a pair of tights over the end, and you hold that about 4 inches off the embroidery. Actually, I'm probably telling a lie here. This is my theory of what I do. In reality, I have cushions that I've had for 40 years and they're fine and they don't need it. I just sort of wave them around a bit in the fresh air occasionally and then I put them back. And for some reason, natural fibres like wool and linen, they just don't attract the dirt like synthetics. I mean, if I was wearing a synthetic blouse, I would have to put it through the washing machine thoroughly every day. And I'm not a hot person, but I'm wearing a cotton, I have to tell you, I'm wearing a cotton blouse that I've worn now. This might be even its third day because I'm actually going to go and garden later. But, it's still totally clean unless I actually throw my food at myself. So unless, the dog throws up on a cushion or something like that, I never wash or clean or hoover or anything my textiles. But if you do want to take dust off things, you must remember to put that pair of tights over the end of the nozzle. Right, now I promised Karen today that I would, because she edits all these and has to cope with my blithering on, I promised I would talk about what makes a good design. And at the moment, I'm firmly in the arts and crafts because I'm preparing the instructions and the individual kits from a frame called Aesop's Fable that, Karen, I give you permission, put it up now, and then you can have a look. And I'm pretty proud of this design, and actually really have enjoyed making it. I've actually now stitched it twice, the whole frame, and it's a mirror frame. And I did go through a little phase of thinking that I would make it into a clock and put a very arts and craftsy style, 12, 3, 6 and 9 in the middle with all the hands and things. Now you can do that if you're an extreme crewel worker and you've run out of wall space to put a mirror. But this design I think would go to any age of person, and in particular a child would love it because you can tell the Aesop's Fables round it. And at the moment I have got 2 step grandchildren in New Zealand where they live, 2 in Hong Kong where they live, and I've got the other 2 here. So I've got Ophelia here and Juliette with their mummy and daddy living with us for the summer, which we do every year, and I'm very, very thrilled they're over. Anyway, so they came in, and even Juliette, who's only just 3, she came and said she didn't want to choose any other animal but the one that she saw me stitch second, which was the dove and the chicks. But Ophelia has Ophelia's fox, and that's in the Beating About the Bush catalogue. So some of you have already seen it in their publicity for their event in October, which sadly I don't think can happen. So now looking at this design, what is a good design? Oh, Karen, she's screaming at me, get to the point. And my daughter's screaming, get to the point. I think in the arts and crafts world, it's something that is natural, as near to natural as you can make it, a little bit nearer the scale that you would have it. If you look back in the past, you saw enormous bugs and tiny stags because they didn't really get it about scaling up and scaling down. They just traced out the design from the pattern they had and for the space that it fitted, and they didn't really bother about scale. But with this, I know the hare is a lot bigger than the fox, but it fits the corner well, and there is a sort of attempt at making it look as natural as possible and sitting on a branch and eating something. The birds, as usual, are eating or feeding chicks. The little squirrel I really like, and I rather deliberately faced him going out of the design, which is something I wouldn't normally do. Usually, if you look along the bottom, I've got the hare looking into the design and the fox looking into the centre of the design and the frog plonked in the middle. And that actually could look very basic if I'd followed that all the way round. So the owl is looking straight out at you, but the woodpeckers either side of the mirror, they are staring out of the design. And so is the peahen or bird of paradise above the green woodpecker. Karen, are you keeping up with this? Poor Karen doesn't even know what I've named everything. And as I say, the squirrel at the top, it would be almost boring to have it facing in to the peacock opposite. To me, that's a fairly basic thing. And I feel that as a designer, I am here to take the brave steps into each style from history with Crewel work, from the pieces I've studied, and just bring them to you. And that's what gives me a lot of joy, because I take a risk and then I plonk it in front of you, and a lot of you get it, and I'm really, really flattered, and thank you every day that every time we look at designs together as a team, I get my way because that's what I do, and the rest do all the work. So I'm just blessed with my team, and I'm going to say goodbye and get on with some getting this design out to you, because we want to do this for the middle of the autumn. So we'll have more about that later and how we produce it. Anyway, cheerio, and I hope you stay happy and stay well. Bye-bye. And thank you so much, Rachel, for that wonderful email. Bye-bye.